Thanks for coming to our town hall. We have people here from all around the world. We have a number of people on the thread. I asked some questions that people voted on a lot from all around the world, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity to hear what you're thinking and hopefully share some of the thinking behind what goes into Facebook. So, these town halls are really important. I think that this is a really unique opportunity for me to hear from you and everyone in our community what is important to you and what we can be doing better in order to build better services for you and for everyone around the world. So thank you again for coming out, and I'm going to hand it over to Charles to kick us off.
All right, thank you, Mark. So before we begin, I want to walk everyone through very quickly how we're sourcing questions today. So there are a few different ways. So as Mark mentioned, we've had thousands of questions come in via his Facebook post, so we're going to answer some of those. We have some people that actually flew in to ask those questions in person. Second, of course, we have you guys, our wonderful live audience here in Menlo Park. We'll be taking questions from you. And then finally, we have a live stream going on Mark's Facebook profile right now. So if you're watching on that live stream, ask questions in the comments. We'll be looking at those comments throughout the Q&A, and we'll pull some of those and ask them.
Although if you're here, you really shouldn't be watching on the live stream.
Right,
that would
exactly, right. But I'm talking to the live stream people here, yeah. Okay, so shall we kick off? Does that sound like a plan?
Go for it.
Okay, awesome. So I want to start with one of the most popular questions from the thread. This is one that seems to come up a lot when we have these Q&As, and it comes from Cairo, from Syed. And this is what he says. Mark, we need to have more options than just the like button. Why don't you have other options like, I'm sorry, interesting, or dislike?
All right, Syed. So from Egypt, I think people have asked about the dislike button for many years, and probably hundreds of people have asked about this. And today is a special day because today is the day where I actually get to say that we're working on it and are very close to shipping a test of it. It took us a while to get here because we didn't want to just build a dislike button because we don't want to turn Facebook into a forum where people are voting up or down on people's posts, right? I mean, that doesn't seem like the kind of community that we want to create. I mean, you don't want to go through the process of sharing some moment that was important to you in your day and then have someone downvote it, right? I mean, that isn't what we're here to build in the world. But over the years of people asking for this, what we kind of have come to understand is that it's not, people aren't looking for an ability to downvote other people's posts. What they really want is to be able to express empathy. And, not every moment is a good moment, right? And if you are sharing something that is sad, whether it's something in current events like the refugee crisis that touches you, or if a family member passed away, then it may not feel comfortable to like that post, but your friends and people want to be able to express that they understand and that they relate to you. So I do think that it is important to give people more options than just like as a quick way to emote and share what they're feeling on a post. So we've been working on this for a while. It's it's surprisingly complicated to make an interaction that you want to be that simple. But we have an idea that we think we're going to be ready to test soon, and depending on how that does, we'll roll it out more broadly. But thank you for all the feedback on this. Over the years, I think we've finally heard you, and we are working on this, and hopefully we will deliver something that meets the needs of our community here.
Excellent. So I want to go to Nate, who's flown in here, I think from Washington State. So Nate, the floor is yours.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for taking my question. I'm really interested in your vision on how you see Facebook becoming a platform for education in the future.
It's a great question. Thanks for flying all the way in from Washington to ask. So I think Facebook should definitely be a platform for helping people learn in the future. And I personally care a lot about education. I think it's really important for giving everyone an equal opportunity in the world. And in both the work that we do at Facebook here at the company and personally through philanthropy, it's something that I focus a lot on is education. One of the areas that I'm actually really excited about that Facebook just announced a program around, I think it was last week or the week before, is personalized learning. It's this idea that different students learn in different ways and in different paces. And if you can tailor the educational experience for a person so that it is exactly how they learn, then people have the capacity to learn many times more than we currently are through our education system. So this is a great problem for people to design software to help out with. And you can imagine going into a school and a student is trying to learn math. Say there's some concept like fractions, and you kind of break the concept down into there's fraction addition, subtraction, multiplication, all the different things, and different people learn in different ways. And so for some people, watching a teacher talk about it might be the most useful thing. For some, watching an online video. For some, reading about it. For others, playing a game where they can practice are going to be the right things. And some people might get caught up on the addition, or some people on multiplication. But you want to be able to tailor that experience. So we're building software here at Facebook that different schools can already use to kind of deliver that kind of experience. And this all got started through philanthropy work. My wife and I have given a bunch of money to schools to try to improve schools. And we found, we got introduced to this one school, Summit Public Schools. They're based here in the Bay Area. And they have this wonderful founder, Diane Tavener, who has been this outspoken advocate for personalized learning. So I went to go visit their school. And, it looks exactly like what you would hope a modern school would look like. It's the students are out, they're working together, they're also using computers to do their work and to collaborate. And software is a really important part of their personalized learning experience. So I asked Diane when I visited, can I meet your software team? Right? Because if that's such an important part of how they're getting these amazing results in their school, clearly the software team would have to be this big and really impressive thing. So her answer was, yeah, I'll introduce you to him. She's like, well, what do you mean? It's one guy? So, and the answer was, yeah, we're an education company, or not. They're not a company. They're an education organization, not a software development organization. And oftentimes it's hard to recruit some of the best engineers to go work at a school. So, but that's this is what we do at Facebook. We have a lot of the best engineers in the world coming together to build different things for our community. So I offered and I said, hey, we'll build you a team, right, to go work on this. And now we have 20 people here at Facebook who are building up this software so that not only the whole Summit network, but starting this fall, a number of other schools, and then growing beyond that, will be able to use this kind of personalized learning software, which is getting excellent results. And students really, not only do they get to learn on the time frame that they want and get further ahead, but you come out of that whole experience with this feeling that you can really learn anything you want. It's very empowering because the kids get to choose in what order they learn stuff and how they do it. So I think it's really powerful. I think Facebook can and has a responsibility to do a lot to help out in this area, and it's one of the things that I'm really excited about.
So I think it's time that we throw it to the room. Who has a question in here for us? Oh my God, so many. Okay, I'm going to start with this quadrant. How about you? Here. Yeah. I'm going to hold the mic for you. So just talk into it.
Okay, hi Mark.
Hey.
Congratulations on becoming a dad.
Thank you.
I actually started a mom group on Facebook, so if your mom wants to, or your wife wants to join us, she's welcome to.
My mom probably wants to join
Yeah,
too.
get your mom on there too. So I used to work at a homeless shelter for veterans in San Jose, and I was just wondering if Facebook had any plans on building affordable housing or doing anything in that sort of arena for this community, since rental prices are a little high, and it's kind of, I know that George Lucas did something similar in Marin, so I was just wondering if Facebook had any plans to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we're looking at. We have, across the street, we just built this new building, and over the next decade or so, there's more land that will develop as the company grows in order to be able to house all the new folks who are going to join the company. But I think in order to be a responsible member of the community, we also need to contribute to the housing stock in the way that you're talking about. So this is definitely a thing that we're thinking about, and Frank Geary and the folks who are working on the buildings are very excited to take that on as part of the next phase of the whole project out here. But I agree, this is really important.
So, Mark, I want to take a question from the thread now. And it comes from Kathy Tim Pearl, and she asks, how are you and your wife surviving pregnancy?
Well, it's easy for me to answer that question because I'm not the one who has to grow a baby. But in all seriousness, we're really grateful, right, that we've gotten to this point and that, everyone is healthy so far. I shared this when we announced the news that we're pregnant on Facebook, but we had 3 miscarriages before we got to the point where we have a pregnancy now, which we are hopeful will kind of stick and be healthy to term. And it was a really tough experience, right, going through that. So, I think when you first learn that you're gonna have a kid, you're so excited, right? I mean, it's you start imagining what their future is gonna be like, and making all these plans and having all these dreams, and my wife Priscilla especially. She's a teacher and she's a pediatrician, so she works with kids all day long. So we've really wanted this for a long time, and and then it's gone, and it's like a deeply sad and isolating experience. And there's also this weird thing in our culture where, for some reason, people don't talk about this that much, and I never really understood that, which is why I wanted to, and my wife wanted to talk about this when we announced that we were pregnant, was because we thought it was an important thing to get out there, that this is a pretty normal thing. It turns out, when we talked to our friends, a lot of them had gone through similar things, and that really brought us a lot of peace for, the period of, a year, 2 years or so that we were trying to get pregnant with a healthy child. So anyhow, the good news is that right now, it looks like everyone is healthy. We'll hopefully have some more news to share with the community soon. But I'm deeply grateful for being in the position that we're in now, and for all of the prayers and thoughts and everything that everyone from our community has sent our way. So thank you for asking.
So I want to go to Vandana, who's flown in here all the way from Kentucky to ask her question. So I'll hand it over to you.
Hi, my question is this: how is any way to we see the live 7 wonder of the world 24/7 on Facebook? How cool is that?
I agree. That's very cool. And thank you for flying in all the way from across the country to ask this. So I guess there are 2 parts to the answer. One is that on Facebook today, you can already search, right? You can type in kind of any keyword and just see all of the posts that people have around the world, right? There are more than 1 billion people in the community. A bunch of them have been to the wonders and post photos every day that you can kind of get a feed and see that experience through other people's eyes of how they're seeing that. And so that's something that exists today. I mean, you can just open up the app and tap in the search box and go do that. The long-term answer, and the thing that I'm really excited about, is we're working on virtual reality, right? And we have this team, Oculus, that we're building this product. It's these goggles, and the idea is you can put them on, and you can kind of experience anything. So you can look around, and instead of having to click on photos or scroll to go through a video or whatever, you can teleport basically to some scene, and you can look around, and it feels like you're there. And there's already a lot of these experiences where even just with the basic developer kit product that we have out now, it's not a consumer release, although that's coming in the next half a year, in Q1 of 2016. Once you have that, there's going to be all this content, either kind of static 3D photos of the wonders, or all kinds of other things where you can just look around and it feels like you're actually there, or videos of where the scene is actually changing. And over time, you'll be able to do that with your friends too. So you'll be able to go visit the pyramids with your friends, and it'll feel like you're there, and it's pretty amazing stuff. I mean, even just the early demos that I've seen of interacting with friends there's some pretty crazy stuff that you can do. There's one that we have now where where basically you can play ping pong with a person. So they're in a different room, and you have the hands, right, and your headset on, and you can pick up a virtual ping pong paddle, and you can start playing ping pong with them. And then, okay, so that's cool, but because they're somewhere else. But the thing that gets really crazy is then you can change the way gravity works. So you can either, like, you can hit a button and make it seem like you're underwater, right? So now it's like, okay, now you're playing ping pong underwater, right? We've never had that experience before. You can press another button, it's like, okay, now we're playing ping pong in outer space. There's no gravity, right? And it's just amazing. So it's not only going to be things that are in the world, but you'll be able to experience things that aren't even possible to experience in the world. And that's going to be a really cool future that I'm really excited about Facebook playing a role in delivering that to the world.
I want to go back to the thread really quickly, Mark. Abdul Hakim is asking, how did it feel when Facebook reached 1 billion people in a single day?
Yeah. I mean, connecting this community is the thing that I care the most about in the world. And, there are lots of different ways to measure the progress of a community or a company, but I think the number of people whose lives you've improved or touched by joining your community and getting to use this product is probably the best metric that we have for the overall amount of good that we do in the world. So I always make a point of it. There's this saying that people have that you kind of get in an organization what you choose to celebrate. And there are all these different things that we can celebrate, but we've really made a point where I want us to celebrate all of these milestones for our community, right? Every time that we hit some kind of new record where, it's 100 million people, a billion people using Facebook every day. I mean, those are the moments that I want, that I'm the most proud of in my life, and that I want to have our organization care the most about. So, celebrating takes a little bit of a different form these days. We have about 10,000 employees. It used to be a little crazier. When we were at around, when we first hit the 100 million person milestone, I think this must have been like 7 years ago. We only had about a few hundred people at the company at the time, and I kind of got everyone together, and we walked. I called an impromptu all-hands meeting, and then we walked to this park in the middle of Palo Alto, and people were like, what are we doing? And so we got there, and I was like, this is a really important moment, right? I mean, people wouldn't have guessed that you would be able to create a community of 100 million people online. And this is something that we have to celebrate. This is what's important to the company, right? We've never had a company-wide party celebrating that we made money, although you need to do that to build a company, but that's not what we get out of bed in the morning to do. We didn't have a party for the IPO, but every time we hit a community milestone like this, we have a party. So 100 million, I kind of got everyone around, and they're like, what do we hear? And I pulled a sheet out of my bag, and 2 words, toga party. We don't do that anymore. But a little tougher to have a toga party with 10,000 people all around the world. But the sentiment remains, right? Which is, these are the moments that I think we need to celebrate. And 1 in 7 people in the world using something that we've all built together in a day is a big deal. And there's a lot to be happy about in that. And if we're really doing our job well, then we look at it and also see that there's a lot more work to do.
All right, let's go back to the room here. Who has got a question? I'm feeling, sir, do you want to come out and ask your question? Come on over. Sure. I'll hold the mic for you.
Okay, all right. Hey, Mark. My name is Mustafa, and I live here in South Bay. And my question to you is, a lot of tech moguls have warned us about artificial intelligence. And I wanted to know your point of view on that.
This is a great question. So I am much more optimistic about this than a lot of other folks that you might read about. And, all new technology has the ability to do good and bad. But I am fundamentally optimistic about human nature and our ability to use these things to do good. Which is why I believe so deeply in building technology. And people point to these long-term cases where someone builds some AI and then it I don't know, takes over the world or something. But we work on this on a day-to-day basis, and I can tell you we are nowhere near building anything like that, right? So, it's like we can't even get like the basic stuff to work. So that's so my view is that on the path to anything like that, there are going to be all these really important advances, right? So being able to diagnose diseases better, to treat people better using computers. Being the self-driving car project that a bunch of people in the industry have to eliminate car accidents, which is one of the major causes of death, right? These are all AI, right? And I think that it's a little dangerous to be too negative about the prospect of something long-term when all signs point to that over the next 10, 20, 30 years, whatever it is, we're going to unlock all this value and help people's lives so much by developing this technology. So I'm an optimist.
Okay, Mark, let's go to the live stream because there are questions coming in. And actually, I have a really good one. You've gotten this one before. But it comes from Joe Robertson. And he says, Mark, please, I beg you, my man, please wear a different shirt for once. Different color, style, anything. You're killing me.
So, I have a secret, which is that I actually have copies of the shirt in other colors. I only wear them on the weekend. So, there you go.
We have someone else who's flown in. Arturo, let's go to you. Arturo, you came in from Florida, right?
Yes.
Another cross country.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for inviting me. My question is about the recent discussions I had among my European friends about this kind of sensitive pictures that some of us post, and now with the refugee crisis in Europe, some of our friends don't like to see them. So is Facebook somehow considering an option that I can upload a picture and somehow flag it for viewer discretion? So my friends, if they want to see it, they have to click on it or perform something, and those who don't want to see it just don't see it.
Yeah. This is a good idea. And thanks for flying in from all the way across the country to share it. So I appreciate that. This is an area where we can certainly do better, I think. The current system is one where our community reports content that they don't like, and then we look at it to see if it violates the policies and then take it down. But part of the issue with that is that by the time that someone is reporting something, they've already seen it and had a bad experience. So this, going back to the last question around AI, this is one of the simpler things that I think AI could do. Right? Right now we don't have computers that can look at a photo and understand it in the way that a person can, and tell kind of basic things about it. Right? Is this nudity? Is this graphic? What is it? And it will be possible to build that in the next 5 years, I think, and that will lead to not only being able to not show that kind of content to people who are going to be very sensitive about it in their experience, but it will lead to personalization. Some people might not mind, right? And they might want to see it. Or the photo that you were talking about. I happen to think that was a very important photo in the world, right? Because it raised awareness for this issue where it's easy to just throw out these stats about refugees, right? There's tens of millions of refugees, but there's a way that capturing such a poignant photo has of getting people's attention, right? It was one child, right? And then all of a sudden it became something that a lot of people were talking about when they should have been talking about it before, but the victims were invisible, right? They were hidden behind stats, and so it's an interesting balance in terms of running this community where you fall on that spectrum, because sometimes it's important for people to see things that are important even if they disagree with them or are upset by them. But that'll be something that we need to discuss as a community and figure out where the balance is that we want to be on in going forward and in the future. But there's no doubt that with better AI and better technology, we can do a better job of kind of showing people what they're interested in, and doing a better job of quickly removing sensitive content that either would violate our policies or might not be fit for young children or something like that.
Okay, I want to throw in another one from the thread really quickly, Mark. It comes from Rex Lue, and he's asking, out of curiosity, who is your favorite scientist and why?
Do I only get one?
You can expand.
All right, well, here. It's got to be Maxwell, right? James Maxwell. And the reason is, so in the 1860s, this physicist, James Maxwell, wrote the unified theory of all electromagnetism. And so much of the modern world that we have comes from his work, right? I mean, everything that you use that's electronics, everything that is kind of sending a signal to communicate wirelessly over the air, that's him, right? And the work that he did, and simply, if you care about the internet and you care about communication and you like the modern world that we live in, then you kind of need to be thankful for James Maxwell every day. And I think out of the great physicists, he's probably one of the least appreciated, and I think that he deserves that. But there's an important lesson here, I think, which is that his work took 50, 100 years to really have a major impact on the world. And that's a pretty common thing in basic science. And it makes me wonder to some degree if we are ambitious enough as a society today around what the scientific goals that we have for the next generation. Because the basic science that we do today is not going to have an applied effect on our world in the very near term. But you look at things like I spend some time thinking about disease, right? And as a society, we only really started trying to cure all the diseases about 200 years ago, right? And technology has accelerated, and we've gotten a lot better. So there's a question of okay, in 50 or 100 years, should we be able to cure all the things that people die from? Probably, right? I think we can. I think we have a good shot at it. And if we can, and we have the ability to do that, then don't we kind of have a responsibility to focus on that a bit more? We spend as a society 50 times more money on healthcare, treating people who are sick today, than we spend trying to cure the diseases in the first place so that people don't even get sick, right? So, and if you believe that people were always going to get sick, then maybe that's a right balance, right? And that's fine. But if you actually believed that in our children's time or their children's time, there was actually the ability to make basic advances in science that could cure those diseases, then I kind of think we have a responsibility to do more there. And I think Maxwell shows that it's not, he figured this out, the electromagnetic theory, and it took a while before that really shaped the world. If we have time for another, there are other scientists who I think are worthy as well. One of my favorite stories is there was this man who grew up in India named Srinivasa Ramanujan. And he grew up, he was poor. He didn't have access to the internet. There wasn't the internet at the time. He didn't have any formal education. But somehow he managed to get a book. He got a math textbook. And it didn't cover all math. It just covered a part. But that textbook was enough for him to basically figure out all of modern mathematics that had existed at that time and push the field forward. And so I kind of think about this, and what would have happened if he'd had access to the internet? Right? I mean, how much better, if we'd invested in that kind of infrastructure and connectivity, how much better off would the world be? And then you kind of think today, well, more than half of people in the world don't have access to the internet. Right? And that's why, at Facebook, we're working on projects like internet.org to try to make it so that every single person has access to the internet. I mean, how many more Ramanujans are out there who could deliver really amazing things for the whole world if they had access to that kind of infrastructure, and if we as a society invested in that. So, I don't know, this is something that I feel really strongly about, and we'll hopefully get a chance to focus a bit more on.
Okay, we have someone else who's flown in. I want to go to Alejandra. It's your turn to ask your question.
Hi, Mark. I am currently a computer science and education major, and
that's great.
I'm very, very passionate about the mastery-based learning and personalized learning plans that you were talking about. But as a student, sometimes it feels like I can't do anything now to affect change in that. So what do you suggest that I do to prepare to affect this future that you're talking about?
You can probably do a lot more than you think as a student. I mean, one of my stories from early on at Facebook was, when I first launched Facebook at Harvard, I thought that there was no way that, I thought that one day someone would build this community for the world, but it wasn't even like, I hope that we do it. It was literally, I just assumed that there was no chance that we would do it. Right? Because there were all these other companies that had thousands of engineers and served millions of people and had all this infrastructure and knew how to build stuff for the world. And I was just a college student, right? So who was I to do that? So don't sell yourself short. So, I mean, in terms of what you can build, I mean, there are kind of two sides of this that I think about. There's on the computer science, technology, kind of philanthropy side, there's an ability to do some pretty amazing things because so much of teaching today it's local, right? It's in the school. Teachers are like the key part of how education works. But one key superpower that someone building software has is you can build something once and then have it affect every school. Right, and I think it's just an area that I think we've underinvested in a little bit. So the personalized learning work that I talked about earlier, I mean, I'm really excited about it because we could start working with Summit, and then we can work with Diane at Summit to roll this out to more and more schools and train them how to use it, and that it can have an impact on dozens of schools or hundreds of schools or thousands of schools one day without having to rebuild the software every time. So that's a big deal. But I mean, the other side, of course, I think is teaching, right? And I think you can't build stuff for schools without understanding teaching. Right? I mean, teaching is the key part of what makes education what it is, and teachers are the heroes of education and underappreciated. And so when I started doing philanthropy work around education with my wife, she was a teacher when she graduated from Harvard, and she made this point to me. She's like, you can't do philanthropy and fund schools until you have taught something yourself. And I was like, I don't have time. I'm like running a company. It's kind of a big company, right? And she's just bullshit, right? It's like you have to do this. So I taught this program in our local community here, and I learned more from that than like all the other stuff that we've done. So I mean, empowering teachers I think is the key thing here. And what you build in terms of software really should be things that just makes teachers' lives easier. It gives them more data to do what they need to do, empowers them to give them better materials to be able to teach, help them understand the students better, but ultimately empowers them and is a complement to what they're doing because they're kind of the heroes who are making all of this stuff happen. And I'll stop there.
All right, let's go back to the room. Let's see. I feel like I haven't given like this area over here some love. So I see you, ma'am. Why don't you come over here and ask your question? I'll hold the mic for you.
Sure, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to personally thank you. You have no idea. Seriously, I came here 28 years ago, and you can imagine the way communication was 28 years ago. So now we have Facebook, and we have found family, friends. You can imagine. So thank you. My question is,
thank you for sharing that. This is why we do what we do.
You have no idea. I hope everybody's. I said I'm going to say thank you on their name. But I'm from Nicaragua, and like you said, not everybody has access to the internet, in there and all that. But now that we do, we have instant message. We have Facebook. Are you coming up with face-to-face video in the future through Facebook?
Yeah, we're rolling it out now, and video chat. You can use through Messenger. I don't know if it's rolled out in every country yet, but it will be soon if it's not yet. We do this here where we test things, right? So this is a key part of how Facebook runs, right? Is I don't want every decision that we make in the company to have to go through me, right? I want to be able to empower all the people that we hire. We hire all these amazing people. I want them to be able to do work and test things. So the rules at the company are basically you can build any new product and we'll try to test it. There will be a little bit of I'll check it out before to make sure that I think it's going to be a good thing to try. But but I don't need to upfront decide whether it's going to work. We try it in an area. If people like it, then we decide it works, and then we roll it out more broadly. So I actually think that this one is available worldwide, but if it is not yet, then it will be soon. And the way you just use it, it's in Messenger. You tap the button to make a call, and then there's a button within that interface that you can tap to switch it over to a voice call. A video call.
Through computer or through
Phone.
phone?
I think we have it on computer too. We will follow up with you afterwards.
Okay, Mark, I want to roll a quick video that someone sent in from India. So let's watch the screen.
Hi Mark, this is Gopal from New Delhi, India. My question for you is, as the world is moving at such a dynamic pace and so many innovations around, what kind of future do you see for your daughter when she turns 16? Thank you.
That's the big question, isn't it? I mean, a more open world where she can, always feel comfortable and safe being who she is and expressing herself freely. A more connected world, right, where the people she loves are always nearby, and anyone she wants to learn from is a tap away. A more equal world, right, where you have the same opportunities whether you're a girl or a boy, or whether you're white or not white, which she will be. Whether a world filled with wonder and so many ways to learn and explore all the new things. I mean, a reinvented education system and all this amazing technology. A world with much less suffering, right? That's not necessary. Without disease, without war, without a lot of the unnecessary pain that we have today. That's what I want for her. And, it's probably going to take a while to get there, but I think if we work hard, we can get there. I mean, we can probably get there in our children's lifetime.
All right, Mark, we're going to go to another client. So, Stephen, it's your turn.
Thanks for having us here, Mark.
No.
I picked up on your optimism regarding AI and telepresence and other technologies. I just want to know if Facebook has any official operating plans for the singularity or mitigating existential risk in society at large.
All right, so this is easy compared to the last question. So yes, I'm very pro-technology innovation, right? So the vision for Facebook is that we want to give people all the tools they need to be able to express everything that they want with any group of people that they want, right? And that's why we have all these things. We have kind of messaging, and we have text, and photos, and videos, and we're working on VR. There's this very clear progression, which we have seen over time, which is that there's two trends that I think are really interesting and relevant here. So one is that as time goes on, people keep on getting richer and richer tools to be able to communicate their thoughts and experiences more richly. So what I mean by that is, if you go back 10 years, most of how people shared online was text, right? I mean, you'd write messages and email, SMS, messaging, things like that. Over the last 5 years, we've really gone into this period where most of the content that you share is going to be visual, right? So I mean, you browse through Facebook or other kind of online services, and most of what you're going to see are going to be photos. Over the next 5 years, I think we're going to move into this golden age of video, right, where it's going to transition from being primarily static visual to animation, right, and moving and much richer, right? And videos capture us in a way that photos really can't. But that's not the end of the line, right? That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about virtual reality is that videos, to some degree, are still just they're static, right? It's 2D. You're looking at a screen. why wouldn't we want to be immersive, right? And be able to be in the experience and feel like you're there with your friend in the experience that they want to share. And if you're capturing an important moment, say your child is taking her first steps, right? I mean, you don't just want a little video. You want to be able to be there, right? And you want to be able to send that to your grandmother across the country so that she can be there and experience that too, right? So that, I think, maybe that's 10 years out, right, in terms of that being a mainstream thing, but that'll happen. But I mean, at some point, I don't even think that that's the end, right? I mean, you start getting into AI and like real AI, being able to model out how we think and all that. I really think that this sounds a little crazy, but and it's many decades out, I think. But I do believe that at some point in the future, we will have the ability to kind of just directly communicate a thought to another person or group of people. And there's actually a lot of research that's going into this already today. I mean, because, for example, people who, you get into an accident, if you're disabled and you can't move or you can't speak, there's good research that goes into being able to model out what a person is thinking and be able to produce sound from that. Being able to model out what a person is thinking, and even if they can't control their muscles directly, be able to control an artificial limb, right, to be able to do stuff. And I mean, that research is already happening. It's not commercial yet. It's not widespread, but you can already see that. So that kind of leads me to think that probably not 10, but maybe 25 or 30 or 35 years out, we'll start to have things that resemble that. And it fits the trend in computing too, right? I mean, if you look at how computing has trended, when computing first got started, we had these mainframe servers that were the size of this room, right? And they were so difficult to use that you practically needed a degree in order to even be able to control them. Then, then we got to the PC, right, which is kind of this clunky thing on your desk that was a lot easier to use, and more people had that, but it still wasn't very natural, right? I mean, you had a mouse, you moved something over here in order to control something over there. You could figure it out, but it's not natural. So it's not really a surprise that the first mainstream and widely loved computing device is the smartphone, right? That you can carry it around and you interact with it naturally and directly, and that's intuitive, right? I mean, that's how this stuff works. But even the smartphone, there are all these issues with it. I mean, it's small, it's not immersive. I mean, it's still not natural in the way that you would want. And you can't really use it all the time. It's awkward. You have to pull it out of your pocket. So I'm really optimistic. I think that the next version of the next computing platform, which there is a new one every 10 or 15 years, a big step, is going to be based on vision and glasses. All right, and this is another reason why I'm so optimistic about virtual reality and augmented reality. I think we will have glasses like you guys have that you can kind of just wear, and you don't have to scroll. You just look around. Right, and you don't have to pull something out of your pocket. It just you kind of focus a little, and it pulls up what you want. And I think we'll get that. There are a bunch of more things that we need in order to be able to develop that. But I think that the AI technology and a lot of the other pieces that people associate with the kind of advances that you're talking about will actually fuel these kind of changes. And if you think about a world where people can just communicate directly to each other, I mean, that's going to be the biggest change in how people work and communicate that I think has existed ever in our society. So I don't know, that's really powerful. And I'm very optimistic about the future and pretty hopeful that we will get there.
Okay, now I want to go to Dennis. Dennis is local from Redwood City.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
I had a feature request.
Go for it.
I'm sure you hear them. I have friends and family who are very active on the wall, and sometimes their content is noisy. During the election cycle, for example.
For example.
I can right-click and unfollow them, but then I never see them again actively.
Uh-huh.
And what I was hoping for is some way of seeing their name, knowing they're active, and then I could quickly view what they've been posting and just have an idea of what they're doing, so when I see them at the family reunion, I know what they posted.
I think this is a great idea. So, I mean, the reality is we need to be, a lot of our job is taking all the thousands of things that people post every day and doing a good job of understanding what you care about so we can show the right things. Right? And you can scroll through as much as you want, but let's say you're your friend is pregnant and the baby comes, like you want to know that. That's got to be on top, right? And if that's not on top, and you didn't check Facebook for a few hours because I don't know what you were doing, but you didn't check Facebook for a few hours, then and it's all the way down, then you don't want to miss that. So a lot of what we spend our time doing, and this gets down to a lot of the AI questions that we're talking about before. I mean, this is like we build these systems that try to understand not only from how you interact with people, who you care about, and what content you're going to see, you're going to want to see, but also how important the content is, which you should be able to figure out by looking at the photo. Right? Is it a fresh baby? Right? Yes. Put it at the top. Is it something that's graphic or controversial? Maybe don't show it to young people, right? Or people who are sensitive about that. This is all possible to build, but. And this is kind of our job. I mean, this is why we have all these great engineers who work at the company, so that we can solve these problems so that you don't have to. But in the meantime, until we get there, I do think your idea is a good one for getting there.
Okay, excellent. I have one more from the thread that I want to put in. This one's big.
Okay.
Okay. It comes from Kevin, and he says, Mark, what is your favorite emoji?
All right, so I don't know how many of you guys use stickers on Facebook, either in comments or in messaging, but I love stickers. It's replaced a lot of the communication that I would otherwise have in a more intellectual fashion. And I have to say, I'm a cactus guy. I love the cactus. I think, I think my wife might kill me if she messages me when I'm staying late for meetings and one more time, and she says I'm hungry, and I just send her the picture of the cactus eating a hamburger. That might cause problems at home. But the other one that, of course, I have to give a shout out to is one of the artists who designed the stickers made a sticker pack of my dog Beast, which of course, I mean, you gotta love that, right? I mean, Beast is a ridiculous animal. If you haven't seen him, I mean, you can look him up on Facebook. He's basically a mop.
Okay, great. We have one more fly-in that I want to make sure we get to, and it's Eric. Come on out.
Thanks, Mark. My question is, I'm really curious in your thoughts on self-organizing, non-traditional, non-hierarchical organizational systems, and where do you see yourself and Facebook in this emerging paradigm?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. I guess I don't believe in fully self-organizing systems at the scale, at the unit of a company this large. I do think, the economy works that way overall. So I think that at large scale, obviously, that can happen. But the big principle that I've kind of evolved towards over the last, say 5 years of Facebook being a larger company is one where we have independent leaders for the different product areas who have a lot of authority and ability to shape the products in the way that they think is right. So, for example, we have a set of people who work on newsfeed, right, which is the main thing that people are doing kind of every day on Facebook. We have I was able to recruit someone who is the guy who's running PayPal, right? It's this huge company. He came over. He's running Messenger here, and that kind of gives the sense of when you're running a larger organization, how you actually shape things is, there are too many different projects that we're working on where I can't make every decision on every detail of each one. And if I tried to, then the really talented people who are working on them would get very frustrated, right? Because they're spending all their time on it. I'm spending 1/10 of my time, right? So they're as smart as I am and are spending all their time. So maybe I'll get something right every once in a while, but you'd have to guess that if I'm overruling them constantly, they will at some point just go find a place to work where they can have a bigger impact. So a lot of this is, you get these amazing people, and you give them a runway to try to do things and try to get stuff done, and you measure to make sure that they're serving the community well. But at this scale, I think probably the biggest lever that I have is who I appoint and recruit for these key positions. Right. So having someone like David Marcus, for example, come and build out Messenger is, picking someone who has the vision that he has, and being able to get someone into that role who has the capacity to build something at scale that he has is the best thing that I can do personally to set up Messenger to be a great product for many, many people to use for many years to come.
All right, let's go back to the room. There's a question right here. Okay.
Hi, Mark. I'm Vinit. I'm 14. This is my third year attending your Q&A. I wanted to know what your definition of success is, and in what career, at what point in your career did you find yourself successful?
That's an interesting question. You know, I'm not a person who looks back on things that much, and you know, this is probably pretty frustrating for the people who work with me. I think this is probably one of the more frustrating things about me is I don't, you know, aside from these like crazy milestones, like all right, there are 1 billion people in our community. It's like, all right, how can you not celebrate that, right? But you know, I don't tend to look back on things and care that much, right? I mean, I try to like look forward and see what more needs to be done. And I mean, maybe that's just I'm a little glass half empty on that. I mean, I'm definitely optimistic about the direction that the future is going in, but I just see kind of what more problems there are to solve. And you know, I feel like, you know, I've been really lucky. I have the ability to run this organization. I have all these resources. I don't spend a lot of time being happy about that. I spend most of my time just feeling responsible to make the most of that and trying to make sure that we deliver what I know that I and our company have the capacity to do for the world. So I mean, even when we reached 1 billion people, you know, we celebrated because that's an important milestone, and building a community with 1 billion people is a crazy thing. But I don't know. There's probably the bigger part of me leaves that celebration thinking there are 6 billion people left to connect, and we have to go do that, and like that's what I'm here to do, and we're gonna do it.
Mark, we have more questions coming in on the thread. So yesterday you actually gave a video tour of your desk and your workspace. So there are a lot of questions about that.
I just wanted to make sure it worked for today.
Right. So there are, here are what people are saying. Here's what people are saying. So they were wondering whether people can concentrate in that open environment, and how does Facebook account for different working styles?
Yeah, this is a good question. So there's certainly a trade-off, right? I think any value system that you have, there are always trade-offs. I mean, the decisions you make are only interesting because of the trade-offs that you're willing to make. So certainly having people go work in a silent office will allow them to focus more on whatever task they are doing. That is kind of without a doubt. So the reason why I think having people work in an open floor plan is a better idea is that you collaborate more and you understand what the direction is that you need to go in better, right? And so these are two things that kind of trade off against each other, is being able to course correct along the way and know what the best direction is to go in, or just going in whatever direction you're going in as fast as possible. But I mean, I'm of the school of thought that if you're going in the wrong direction, getting there faster is not helpful, right? So yes, I mean, I think, yeah, there are going to be a few more distractions, but I think that those are distractions because people are collaborating and sharing ideas and working together to kind of constantly course correct and figure out what the direction is. Now, people do have different work styles, and there are periods where people need to be able to go sit by themselves for 5 hours or a day or whatever and just crank something out. And we, of course, need the space to make that work. So, you know, we have, whether it's different office spaces that people can go sit in and work. We have library areas where there aren't desks around, where the norm is you're not talking to people there. So I mean, even if there are other people in the room, like the expectation is that everyone's quiet and just working. So we do need to be able to do that. But I really believe that better communication and collaboration leads to the best services for our community over the long term.
All right, let's get a couple more questions from the room. I feel like I've neglected you over here, folks. All right, come on over. You want to come ask a question?
Thank you. Hi, Mark. How are you doing today?
Hey, good.
Congratulations to you and Priscilla.
Thank you.
Okay, before I ask my question, can I get a selfie with you?
We're going to take one at the end. Everyone.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so my question is, suppose you are now the president of the world. what are the first 5 changes that you would like to make?
I don't think it works like that. I don't actually think that the real ability to make change doesn't come from someone running something and deciding they want to do it. It comes from empowering people and building communities to build movements. Right, and that's why I care so much about Facebook, and why I think that Facebook is such an important tool for people around the world is, it's not about any one person kind of deciding what should happen or not. It's about giving everyone the tools to organize and do the things that they want, whether it's organize a bake sale for some cause that they care about locally, or organize behind a political candidate who they want to make some kind of change. And I think that that's the biggest impact, right? And that's why I care so much about our mission, right? And making the world more open and connected is that if you have a community that has almost 1.5 billion people in it, where everyone has the ability to share what matters to them and express what they care about and connect with the people that they care about, then no one has to be the leader of the world. Everyone can be the leader of the world and can push. And that, I think we just have a lot of experience knowing that that's going to lead to a better world.
All right, more questions from the thread. A lot of chatter about this, Mark. Are Facebook employees allowed to use Facebook at work?
Yeah.
How does that go?
Yes. It's probably the only job where you're encouraged to use Facebook. And so I guess that's a perk of coming to work here.
Perfect. In the room. Sir, come over.
Hi, Mark. So the question that I have is, it's pretty long, so apologies in advance. In the past decade and a half, we have had Orchid, MySpace, High Five. They have all come, they had their success, and they've all gone down now. A lot of people don't even know that they existed. Does it scare you? I mean, all the Facebook is doing pretty well, and I have a very strong feeling that you guys are going to go on for a decade and a half, or two decades to come. But does it scare you that it might come to an end? And I mean, does it worry you at night? Does it keep you awake?
No. Everything comes to an end. Right? I mean, every company that has ever existed doesn't last forever. I actually am always confused by companies and organizations which have the goal to try to exist forever. I don't view our goal as existing forever. Our goal is to make a change in the world, right? And then after that, we can go, do whatever we want, right? I mean, we're here to connect everyone in the world and give everyone these tools and help our partners build their businesses and just do all this kind of stuff. And once we're doing that, I mean, I think it'll take a while to get there, right? So what I worry about isn't that we are going to go away, but I worry about whether we're doing the right things to execute that mission. And if we do execute that mission, I think it will take 20, 30 years. Then I don't know what's next. But I don't know. I've never really believed in that view that the point is to have something that lives on forever. I mean, maybe Facebook will, or maybe it won't, but that isn't really what I stress about. I just want to make sure we do a good job and actually execute on the things that we want. If we don't do a good job, then we won't get to make the change that we want, and that's really what matters.